Hello, dark alleyway enthusiasts. It's me again, Chris, from BentBox Comics, here with another fun video this Friday. Now, as you may have heard, James Gunn has finally announced the official new Batman for the DCU, and unfortunately it's not me, as much as the hype was there, and I put my name up for it, and I thought, I'm Batman. I thought I could handle the baleness, but, he went a different route, and that's totally fine. Now, apparently the top two in the running were Brandon Sklenar? I probably butchered that. I personally not super familiar with the guy. And then Alan Ritchson. Now, I've been a huge fan of Alan since the Blue Mountain State days. He's cracked me up for years, including some of his newer stuff, obviously with Reacher. Not a huge fan of him in that role just because I'm such a big fan of his comedic timing and just seeing him in that type of role. But I know that he's kind of blown up lately, and I'm a big fan of just him as a person. So, when I heard that he was in the running, I was kind of excited. At the same time, oddly enough, I had almost like a gut reaction of like, nah, that's not Batman. Something about like this jacked Batman, almost like if they were going for absolute Batman, like the new stuff, I could definitely see Alan take that role on. He's kind of just this brick house of Cape Crusader. So that had potential, but just for like the Gunnified DCU going on right now, I don't see him as Batman. So thankfully, honestly, I'm not a huge fan with either of them as Batman. This is just personal opinion. But Brandon won. Brandon, what's his name? And so I'm excited to see what he brings to the role. Potentially it'll be good for the DCU. I'm not a huge fan of either of them as Batman, mainly because, as crazy as it sounds, as crazy as it sounds, if 15-year-old me heard that Robert Pattinson was a good actor, I would kick the crap out of myself. But then again, that was the Twilight days. I wasn't a huge fan of the guy, the sparkly glow about him. Just wasn't a good actor. But then again, I don't think he had the roles or the opportunity. He has grown into one of my top favorite actors to watch. Especially when, I think the first time I realized, this guy's got chops, was actually in the movie The King, which is a Netflix movie with Timothy Chalamet. He played this French opponent to him. Loved it. He killed it in that. He had comedic timing. He nailed the French accent. And I was like, oh wait, this guy can act? And ever since then, I've been honestly a big fan of him, and I try and watch almost everything he's been in. And that obviously includes The Batman. Now, as much as I wasn't really a huge fan of The Batman, I did like the universe it's set up. I liked the vibe. I liked the darkness involved. And I was actually really looking forward to this becoming the new Batman. I was on board for Robert from day one. So to see that they're pivoting from that and picking up yet another new Batman. So this is Batman, Bruce Wayne number 35. But basically Mickey 17, Robert Pattinson's new movie, he's living that with Batman. And I wish they would just find their guy. Now, that's not even really comparable within much of the comic book, cinematic universe. Spider-Man's gone through a ton of iterations. Now, there are some, like Iron Man, you're not going to get a secondary version of, at least I can't imagine it. Captain America, say what you will about it, but, Chris Evans is Captain America, or at least was the original guy. Hulk's gone through a ton of iterations. So, there's definitely precedent there for changing out actors, but there's something to be said of just like, this is the guy. And I was just kind of hoping that Robert was going to be the guy. Now, I'm totally open-minded to Brandon. Hopefully he does a killer job. And then interestingly enough, even Todd McFarlane, not sure if everyone saw this, but even he came out and threw a name in the ring for whatever that's worth. And he picked Zachary Quinto. You may know Zachary Quinto from like Heroes and a handful of other things, but Star Trek, Spock. I'm honestly a big fan of the actor. I think he's got huge chops and could carry a role potentially. Batman, though, I'm sorry, I don't see Quinto doing Batman very well. So, maybe Todd and Zachary are besties, and he just wanted to throw his buddy into the ring. But otherwise, I'm not seeing it, and I'm kind of glad they didn't go that direction. All that said, I kind of wish Robert was the guy, but we'll see how it goes. I'm hopeful that the new Superman movie will do well. I'm excited about the Clayface standalone movie and the world that they're building. But unfortunately, with the current state of comic book movies or cinema, it's not at an all-time low, but it's just not in its heyday. And so I'm just, some of us are left in limbo and just fingers crossed that they do a good job, and we'll see if we even get around to watching any of it. I'm busy. I'm running a comic book publisher. I don't have time to watch 30 seasons of whatever. So we'll see. But for you, I'll do it. Okay? Thunderbolts for you. I'll watch Thunderbolts for you. Anyway, all that brings me to another top 5 list. I had fun with the last one, the fonts. I'm a huge graphic design nerd, so that was just fun for me. Who knows? I actually heard a couple of people who are also into graphic design that they were kind of that was a fun little video, and they found some new fonts that they liked, so that was fun. But for today, it would only be fitting if we do my personal top 5 on-screen Batman. Men Bats. Batman's. First try. Number 5, and my personal favorite on-screen interpretation of Batman, will actually be Will Arnett. I don't know how many people agree with this take or would even consider him up in the running. I have kids, so, obviously I've watched the Lego movie, Lego Batman, and I'm a huge fan of them. They're hilarious, and I really like Will Arnett's interpretation of Batman. Just this goofball, clumsy, bumbling fool in moments, but just sure of himself, idiot. I love it so much, and I'm a huge fan of Will Arnett, ever since Arrested Development days. So, for just watchability, Will Arnett has to be on the list. And that'll be a nod to the fact that not all of these will be live action. Numero 4, Michael Keaton. Now, there's a reason. I almost feel like I should put him higher, but I just can't based on my personal love for other iterations. That said, Michael Keaton's iteration was the first time I was introduced to Batman on screen. One of my first movies that I ever saw in the theaters, my dad took me to Batman Returns. Now, some of you might also have been traumatized by this movie. It was by no means a movie for a child to go to. Thanks, Tim Burton. I still have nightmares about Danny DeVito biting someone's nose off. But that was my first time seeing Batman on screen. He did a great job being that playboy version of of Bruce Wayne. I really liked their way of showing off Vicky Vale and their relationship and that dismissive lifestyle that Bruce Wayne should have while also kicking the crap out of guys. So had to be on the list, but it's number 4. Number 3 is surprising even to me. Ben Affleck. When I first heard that Ben Affleck was going to be cast as Batman, I had a internal reaction of no, please don't. Basically the meme from The Office of Michael Scott. Just no. Then I saw him on screen. I loved his Batman. Not my favorite, obviously, at number 3, but there's just something about him. Now he's that in between, or he was that kind of in between of the jacked Alan Ritchson that could be that absolute Batman. He wasn't just absolutely shredded, but he got in great shape. He was bulky. He came off as a bit of a tank, and I kind of liked seeing Batman come off that way, at least in this interpretation, especially with Zack Snyder and the universe that he was creating. It's kind of needed Batman to be that, and Ben Affleck killed it. And that includes everything from him to Alfred. I liked really everything they were doing with the Batman side of things, which is another reason why I'm getting freaking annoyed at the amount of times we're seeing a new person behind the cowl. Just let me have my Batman. Give me one of them. What? Oh well. Number 2, the one and only Kevin Conroy. Now, obviously, the majority of you will know him or at least associate him with the animated TV shows. I'm actually pulling from the Arkham video game series. This series holds an insanely nostalgic and huge place in my heart that I spent hours upon hours just making bad guys go sleepy night and finding all the Riddler things, and it was just an amazing experience that actually put you into Batman's super tall, kinky black boots. It's one of the few series that I wish that if I was able to like wipe my memory, that I could go back and just play them all over again and re-experience them brand new. But Kevin Conroy, obviously being a veteran of the role, killed it in the series, and he just really breathed a ton of life to the character, as he did in every single iteration he's ever done. And so, as much as I obviously love all the animated series as well, I'm pulling Kevin Conroy from the Arkham video game series for my number 2. He is the GOAT, and rest in peace, man. It sucked when we lost him. And that brings me to my number 1 on-screen Batman, Christian Bale. I am conflicted in my own self that I've put Christian Bale as number 1. We have so many amazing actors who have played the role of Batman. I really just loved the Nolan series. I just loved it. Even The Dark Knight Rises, which a lot of people hated, and Bane was obviously not Bane, but what he was trying to do within that universe, I was a huge fan of. And Christian Bale being the center point as Bruce Wayne and Batman, playing both perfectly. It was just an amazing cinematic experience all the way through, at least for me. And then when they introduced Joseph Gordon-Levitt at the end of Dark Knight Rises as potentially like a Robin figure, I love him as an actor, so I was super excited for that. And then just the final scene of Christian Bale having kind of like his moment in Paris, it just had a nice bow on it. And it was one of the ones where I'm like, okay, we can get a new Batman now, because his story has been told so well, so perfectly, and so completely, even though I really would have liked to have seen Joseph Gordon-Levitt move forward on that. I'm sure I've ruffled some feathers, and a lot of you probably don't agree with the majority of my choices, but that doesn't matter to me at all, because I am me and you are you, and that's how we're going to live throughout this life. But feel free to tell me in the comments below who your favorite baddies have been. Feel free to completely roast my list. Don't mind at all. Whatever moves the algorithm. And also, what are your reactions to us finally having a new Batman? Are you optimistic? Are you skeptical? Are you just over all things comic book related when it comes to movies, as most people honestly are at the moment? Do you fall into that camp of everything sucks, or do you fall into the camp of everything's awesome? We need to find some middle camp somewhere of like some things suck and some things are really cool. But as we all know, Nuance has been brutally beaten and left for dead in the streets of Twitter. Anyway, thanks so much for watching on this beautiful Friday. Hope to see you again next week. Next week, we'll have a special episode where I will dive into a lot of the stuff going on at the con the following day. So keep an eye out for that. And I hope if you're in the area, Southwest Florida area, I might see you face to face on the 26th at Dave & Buster's in Fort Myers. All right, like, comment, subscribe as usual, and I'll see you next week.